Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move strike the last word. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, Mr. Moskowitz.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Since we brought up COVID, I just want to respond and to remind the majority that COVID did not start under the Biden administration. It started under the Trump administration, and it was Donald Trump who closed businesses. It was Donald Trump who closed schools. It was Donald Trump who mandated masks. It was Donald Trump who came up with the vaccine, which I don't have a problem with, but if you have a problem with it, it was Donald Trump's vaccine. And so when we bring up COVID, we seem to have amnesia of when COVID started, who it started under, right? You guys don't like Dr. Fauci, but it was Donald Trump who listened to Dr. Fauci. And so at the end of the day, you guys want to complain about things that happened under the last 2 years. You're allowed to have valid complaints, but what I'd love to hear from the majority is the criticism of the Trump administration and Donald Trump and the decisions that were made during that administration, which you guys use as talking points to hit the President of the United States over Joe Biden, but he was not in charge when those decisions were made. I yield back.
Will the gentleman yield? I'll respond. You want to hear a response from the majority? I'll be happy to respond.
Chair,
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I will.
Chair,
Thank you very much. You're right. President Trump was in office when the COVID virus was released from a lab in China, from the Wuhan lab. And he tried to make that very clear that this came from China. And reporters regularly dismissed that. They called him a xenophobe because he was just saying where the virus came from. He did not mandate masks. Your president did. Joe Biden did. We were on airplanes, all masked up, forced to be in masks, shut down our businesses, shut down our schools. Governors shut down our businesses and our schools. President Trump was very much in favor of federalism and saying, let the states choose. He didn't make any federal mandates. And there's plenty of vaccine mandates that came from Joe Biden. Ask our service members who have been wrongfully discharged, have not been reinstated, have not received back pay, and now what? If they want to continue to not serve, will they have an honorable discharge? We don't know, because even in the previous NDAA, that language was not strong enough. And so now that's another fight that we still have to have. What about all of our medical workers who are forced to have vaccines? That's the problem with the vaccine, not that it exists. Great, it was created. It's your choice if you want to get the vaccine, if you want to get the booster. It was forced on millions of Americans, and that is where the problem lies.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yes, I yield.
well, he's asked, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much, and thank you for yielding, Mr. Moskowitz. I appreciate the gentlelady's passion. There are two facts that she should perhaps be alerted to. One is that Donald Trump, on more than 20 different occasions, defended the performance of the Chinese government, and specifically President Xi, in terms of his treatment of COVID-19, and said he was doing a wonderful job and a great job, and they were working closely and they were constantly in touch. So if there's a problem with the Chinese government unleashing a virus which has not been proven anywhere, but it certainly could be true, you would have to pin that on your favorite president, Donald Trump, not on Joe Biden. The second thing is President Trump's own special advisor on COVID-19, Deborah Birx, I'm sure you're aware, and I'm sure you've read her book, said that the lethal recklessness of Donald Trump's policies about COVID-19 cost Americans hundreds of thousands of lives. So you don't have to believe anybody on the Democratic side of the aisle. That's Donald Trump's own special advisor on COVID-19. Thank you for yielding, and I happily yield back.
Chair, recognize Mr. Moskowitz for final 56 seconds.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'll just close with this. Again, I don't have a problem having the conversation with the majority on what decisions that were made during an emergency that now that the lights are back on and we're no longer in the emergency, that they want to criticize. But that criticism needs to go both ways. It can't just be that COVID started only in the Biden administration and those decisions were made only in the Biden administration. I will have you know, and maybe you're not aware, but that the White House and the president called governors around the country, and the president himself instructed them to close. How do I know that? I was in the room. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, does any other member seek